Hello and welcome to a journey of clarity, a personal exploration of getting in tune with yourself and in tune with others with your host, Dr. Natanael Costea. This is a journey of emotional and spiritual awareness, of discovery what life truly means, and a clear shift from an ego-driven world to a meaning-driven world. I believe we can become more in tune with our thoughts, our emotions, and our spirituality. And as we do that, we will make better decisions, have deeper connections, more fulfillment, and even more joy. This is a bit of clarity. Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, maybe, depending when you're hearing this or whenever you're watching this. For us, it is morning here in Australia. We record this on Sunday mornings, as I said to you before, and we release them on Tuesdays. Well, this morning, while I was doing the notes and preparing, by the way, there are show notes that go with every show that we do. You can download them from eq.org.au. There will be links in the comments of this section, wherever you're watching this or you're listening to the podcast. And I welcome you to take those notes because we will refer back to them throughout this presentation. So while I was doing the show notes today, I received a notification on computer saying that your memory is almost full. So I was backing up the data to the cloud, and somehow in the synchronization process, my computer became full with memory. So basically I had to delete some stuff on my computer. And what I did is I deleted, the videos take the most space on your computer most of the time. So I looked at some of my videos and I just deleted them, pulled them in the trash, and then I emptied the trash. So there's no way you can take them back, basically. They discarded. And what I did is I deleted the previous episodes of the raw footage of a bit of clarity of this emotional intelligence podcast that we're doing. And all of a sudden, a sense of fear and overwhelming emotion came over me. And it had to do with the last episode, which we filmed in advance because I had to take a day off. So we filmed this episode in advance. And in that moment, I realized that maybe I didn't download that episode. Maybe I haven't passed it on to the editor to do. And I only had it on my hard drive, on the solid state of my computer. So in that moment, I thought I just deleted last episode without it being edited, without having any footage of it. And now I will have to go back and do the whole show, do the whole presentation again. In that moment of overwhelming, I had to somehow manage the emotions that were coming through to really make sure that this wasn't stressing me, or that emotion of overwhelming didn't unbalance me. I needed to somehow manage the emotions that I was going through. It wasn't just one emotion of overwhelming. It was an emotion of fear, an emotion of stress. All of a sudden, it just engulfed me. And in that moment, I thought, hang on, today I'm going to speak about self-management, self-control, auto-regulation, self-regulation. How am I regulating in this very moment, in a very tense climax moment, when I may have just lost some important data? So in that moment, I just took a deep breath and I said to myself, all right, what happened? I deleted the file. Is there a possibility that this file is somewhere else? Yes, I could have saved it to the cloud as I recorded it, or I could have put it on the hard drive, because we normally use two backups, one on the hard drive and one in the cloud. But I didn't know whether I did save it or not last week when we recorded it. And the third aspect was, okay, worst case scenario, I know the content. We filmed this, we recorded this last time, so I am able to do this again. And in that moment, I just rested and just eased myself and somehow managed to generate a sense of peace and to quench that emotion and just to take a deep breath, compose myself and say, look, whatever happens, this is manageable. I can get through this. I will overcome this somehow. There's something good that will come out of this. In that moment, I felt peace. I felt composed and ready to bring a solution to this problem. So what I did is I checked. Even though I had to come to be here on time, I said, let me just get this peace of mind before I leave home, just for my driving, just to have a clear mind, because for the next half an hour I will be driving. So I want to make sure that I can relax in the mind and just have this plan on how to deal with this problem later on, by knowing if the problem is real, or is it just illusionary, or is just something that overwhelmed me. So I'll check with this. So I checked on my hard drive, and when I looked on the hard drive, on the portable hard drive, which is a backup of my machine, I saw that the video was there. And that was really, really great news for me, because I wouldn't have to record the video. So I realized that, having those protocols and having those systems in place when we record, to have 2 levels of backup is very helpful, because now that I deleted it off my personal drive, I realized that it was on the backup drive, which was just excellent. So in that moment, I felt a sense of joy, a sense of accomplishment, a sense of peace, so I could drive here quite well. Now, what I'm talking about here is the ability to self-regulate in a situation like this, an overwhelming situation. How do we self-regulate when something like this happens in our lives? I'm sure you've gone through many moments like this, maybe in recent days, where you had to manage yourself in a way to take control of the situation that has pushed you over, and you had to manage that situation much better for yourself. So ask yourself, what did you do? How did you deal with that? How well did you manage yourself? As I said, until now, in the first 13 chapters of what we studied so far, or episodes, we spoke about self-awareness. And now we are shifting away into self-management, because once you are aware of what goes with yourself, with your emotions, with the way you interpret those emotions, you have the possibility to manage this, to control this, to work with this. So today, I want to introduce you to self-regulation, which is part of self-management, because this concept is very important. Now that you're aware of your emotions, now that you're aware of what they are telling you, now that you're aware of what triggers these emotions, how do you deal with them? How do you bring them into some level of control? So today we'll talk about self-regulation, and it is episode 14. In the show notes, I explained to you a little bit what it means to self-regulate. So self-regulation is the ability to keep your emotions in check. It's the ability for you to balance your emotions. If they go too high, too joyful, and you lose control because there's a sense of adrenaline and you just want to drive at 150 kilometers per hour, but that's illegal, so you bring that emotion down. Or if you're feeling really, really low under the line, really down or sad, and you need to bring that emotion back up. So this is that ability, is your ability to keep your emotions in check through self-regulation. It is your ability to resist impulsive behaviors that may worsen your situation. So for example, with me having lost that file because I deleted it, I could have gone into downward spiral and say, now I'm devastated. I could have frozen and could have said, what have I done? Panic mode. I've lost that file. I could have waken up my family. It was like 5:30 in the morning. And just say, look what happened to me. I'm a victim. I wasn't careful. I lost this. I'm devastated. I will have to record this again. I may not even get that content again because I create the content as I get along. I have a roadmap, but at the same time, I create, the illustrations that, there's so much that goes on. There's so much of me in that content, and that will never be the same because that was just for that moment in that time. And I could have dramatized this to such a big extent. Whereas if I'm able to regulate my emotions, I realize what's going on. Okay, the fact that I lost a file triggered in me this emotional state of fear, of overwhelming, and now I can do something about it. I can take a deep breath, I can think about it, and I try to process this. Is this as bad as it looks? Maybe. Let's see, what checks do we have? What abilities do we have? What have we done to prevent this in the past? Okay, we may have a backup. What if we didn't save it to backup? Well, we'll deal with that right there. When we get to that bridge, we'll cross that bridge. But until then, let's have a look what we can do about it. So rather than be problem focused, you switch the attention to become solution focused. And we brought the solution. So it's your ability to resist impulsive behaviors that may worsen your situation and to cheer yourself up when you're feeling down. You know, there's some people that know how to change their emotions by knowing that this is not the end, that this is not the end of the world. You know, they can even laugh at themselves sometimes, how silly of me, next time I'll know. They take things a bit lighter. So you have to have that ability, if you are self-regulating well, to cheer yourself up. It means you have a set of flexible responses, both emotional and behavioral, to match the challenges you are confronting. So in any situation that comes in your life, if you have a flexible mindset, if you have a flexible emotional state where you can control and regulate your emotions, you have the ability to both emotionally and behaviorally have responses, ways to deal with every situation. There is a way to deal with every situation. In fact, there are many ways to deal with every situation. So if you already have a mind that is prepared and an emotional state that is prepared to deal with the challenges of life, you are more likely to respond well to the challenges that you're facing. It simply means here, in simple terms, it means you're able to gain a sense of control over your behavior and your life. So rather than be drenched with this issue that comes, with this blockage that comes into your life, you have an ability to get a sense of control over that situation. You don't lose yourself, you don't lose your control in that situation. You can come on top of it. You have the skills, the abilities, you have the know-how, or at least you have the attitude that will help you come out of that situation. So there are two types of self-regulation. One is behavioral self-regulation, and this is the ability to act consistent with your deepest values on long-term basis. So behavioral self-regulation, I'll give you an example. For example, my goal, so let's say I have a goal to produce 52 bits of clarity for the year 2021. Now, for me, that has become a value, that has become a goal, that has become a purpose for this year. And every week I have to record an episode on Sunday morning. Now, we start recording at around 7 o'clock in the morning, but to get the show notes and the content ready, I have to wake up at 4:30 a.m. on Sunday morning when most people are asleep. Even though during the week I think about the content of Sunday, I need to draw the show notes, and in that period I draw the show notes and I prepare myself for the 7 o'clock filming. Now, my behavior has been aligned with this goal, because this goal is so important for me, this purpose is so important for me. I don't look at the behavior anymore. The goal is greater than the behavior, and I adjusted my behavior to reach that goal. So waking up at 4:30 in the morning is not difficult anymore, because my goal and my purpose is greater, has more value in my life than the discomfort of waking up at 4:30 in the morning. I don't negotiate that. I've allowed myself to self-regulate, to wake up on Sunday mornings at 4:30 a.m. to do the show. Do you see what self-regulation means when it comes to behavioral self-regulation? You adjusted your behaviors to reach your goals. You adjusted your behaviors to reach your values, the purposes that you have. The second type of self-regulation is emotional self-regulation, and this is the ability to regulate your emotions, taking control of the direction they are going and realigning them. As I said this morning, when I felt that overwhelming power come over me, that fear, that doubt, that sense of losing that data, I could have allowed myself to go to sink deeper in that situation, or to elevate myself out of that situation. So this is controlling the emotional state. Even though that feeling comes through, or that emotion of overwhelming comes through, I don't rely and I don't live with that feeling to dictate what I will do next. I come back on top and I say, okay, this is a bit overwhelming for me. What do I need to do? This emotion has come in, but I also have the self-confidence that I can overcome this situation. Either if I have the file on the hard drive, which I have the backup, sometimes it can be there, sometimes it can't because I didn't back it up, but if I did, it would be there. So my emotional changes. Or worst case, I can re-record this if it needs to be again. It's that ability, that self-confidence to move on. And when I can do that, I can self-regulate that emotion, which is very important. So see when you're confronted with a situation, do you need to adjust your behavior or do you need to adjust your emotions in order to self-regulate? There's a difference between self-control and self-regulation, even though they are so interlinked and a lot of people don't understand the difference between self-control and self-regulation. They are both part of self-management. And there will be an episode where I will focus on self-control. But today is self-regulation, and I want to show you the difference between these two. Self-control is the ability to inhibit strong impulses in your life. So you can stop those impulses that come in your life, is drawing a strong line. This is an active and purposeful decision-making process. So basically you decide, I will not eat sugar, for example. That's self-control. I have the ability to stop that, and I will stop that. It's purposeful. It's the decision which I make. And even though I have the impulse for a sweet tooth, for example, I will stop that impulse coming my way. I inhibit it. I cancel it, and I go in the direction that I want. That is self-control. Now, self-regulation, wouldn't you say that they're very similar? No, self-regulation is a bit different. Is the ability to reduce the frequency and intensity of strong impulses by managing stress, load, and recovery. So, for example, coming back to the sugar, that emotion that keeps coming to me, I'm able to somehow reduce the frequency, how often I get that sweet tooth, and how strong this sweet tooth comes my way by having some sort of an understanding in my state that this is bad for me. And I train myself, I train my mind, and I train my emotions to reduce the thought of me going towards a sugar sweet tooth. So when the thought comes in, I nip it in the bud. I don't allow that thought I don't entertain that thought. I'm not thinking about, cakes and ice creams and things like that. And this becomes a natural response. It becomes an unconscious response. This becomes an automatic subconscious process. I don't have sugar as much as I used to be. So rather than fighting that, I think less frequently about that. I resist the impulses. I know how to self-regulate, so I don't have to have those impulses to always say no to them. So self-regulation works more in the unconscious state, whereas self-control is something that I need to make that decision there and there. It's very active. I am part of that decision. I hope that makes sense. Why self-regulation is important for well-being? I'm sure that you would have seen many benefits, and I'm sure you don't want to be in a negative state of emotion all the time. So it's important because, first of all, and this is in your shows as well, in your show notes, gives you the ability to address your emotions, adjusting these to pursue desired outcome. So when you can self-regulate, you can address the emotions that are coming your way. You identify those emotions and you know how to work with them. You know how to steward those, if you want, to administer those. So it's important for you to self-regulate well because your whole life will take a new dimension. Number two, it triggers your motivation into your endeavor to achieve your goals. So when you self-regulate well, your motivation pops up, is triggered, is started, and that motivation will help you go towards your goals. So if you self-regulate well, you don't think too much about the act of self-regulating. You think more about your end goal, and you channel that motivation towards that end goal. Number three, it gives you focus by promoting your ability to regulate your attention so you don't get distracted that easily.
gives you the ability to focus on what's important in your life, and then your whole attention is paid into that focus, is channeled into that focus. That's when you self-regulate well. So I hope that this holistic approach about self-regulation gives you insight and propels you to take some action in your life. And there's an application here where I said, create a list of long-term life goals. So just jot down, what are your life goals? Let's say, I want to write a book, or I want to save $100,000, or I don't know what your life goals are, or I want to become, a better wife, a better husband, a better mother, father, son, daughter, etc. So create a list of your long-term goals that are life goals. And for each goal, identify at least 3 emotional blocks that you will have to manage to achieve that goal. What are the 3 obstacles, 3 main emotional obstacles that will stop you, that will prevent you from achieving that goal? You get ready to have the responses to those blockages in your mind and in your emotional state. This awareness will give you the ability to manage those challenges when you will face them. You will face those challenges because you already identified them before. You prepared yourself. You have become ready to know how to deal with those challenges when they become emotions in your life. So, you will feel overwhelmed somewhere along the line. How will you deal with that overwhelming situation when that comes to achieve your goal? What will you tell yourself? In fact, there will be a self-talk episode later on in this self-management as well. What will you tell yourself? Who will you look up to? What emotional balance do you need to bring to that situation? So you prepare yourself emotionally for the future challenges by having your goal and your purpose as the main focus of your life. And that way you can manage the process that will take you towards your goal. Look, I really hope this lands really well with you and you're able to assimilate this. So my purpose in a bit of clarity is not just to give you information. It's not just to give you great theory and beautiful examples from my life or from illustrations that I bring to you. My purpose is to help you become the best version of yourself. My purpose is to help you self-manage yourself well, self-regulate yourself well. That's why those applications, they come at the bottom with each show notes and in every lesson that I bring to you. They're important for you to do, to assimilate the learning by working in that application, by doing that exercise for yourself. Otherwise, it's just good knowledge that will probably stay with you for a little while, and after that, you will lose it. But the moment you begin to apply this in your life, they will take traction in your life, and you will grow, you will mature, your well-being will change, you will be transformed. And that's what I really want from you. So I hope that you take these and you apply them in your life, in your personal life, in your relationships, and you grow and you become more in tune with yourself and in tune with others. Can't wait to see you next time when we will talk about ego management. So stay tuned for that. See you next time.
I'm Dr. Natanael Costea, and I thank you so much for joining me on this journey of clarity through emotional and spiritual awareness. If you feel blessed by this presentation, please subscribe, rate, comment, and share it wherever you're enjoying it. And until next time, this was A Bit of Clarity.